Welcome back. Some of you might remember a few weeks ago I said I was going to stop playing my nightly Lichess rapid games, but it turned out that it was such an ingrained habit for me that each evening as I was going through my before bed routine that I went ahead and played the rapid game anyway. What I did change is I quit analyzing every one of them the next day or feeling like I had to. That's the part that turned out to be really frustrating for me. I wasn't learning very much from those games, but I did occasionally learn something, so today I'm going to try to analyze a few of the recent ones that I've played, but instead of trying to cover all of them, I'm just going to start with last night's and work my way backwards until I'm out of time. Let's go ahead and switch over there, and this is the game that I played last night. I won this game. I was playing with the white pieces, and here is where my opponent resigned. However, the little review down here says I had 3 blunders and 2 mistakes, so I'm going to try to figure out what those were. It looks like after 21 moves, we were really even. Neither one of us had made any mistakes or blunders until move 21, when my opponent undefended the knight that I was pointing at. I was pretty sure it was my best move to take it, and I did, and according to the graph, I was ahead for the entire rest of the game. So the blunders or mistakes must have been points at which I could have been further ahead, but gave some of the advantage away. According to the post-game analysis, this is the point of my first mistake. My opponent has just made a mistake here by taking my pawn. I had a pawn here, a weak pawn, undefended pawn at the base of the pawn chain. I didn't know that was a mistake on their part. It looks like now they, have 2 other pawns that they can capture. I guess I could defend one of them by coming back here. What did I play? I played queen to d8 check, which I thought would win me this pawn. And then if they went ahead and took that one because I'm protecting the c pawn, then I could get a pawn too, or maybe the other one. So I'm not sure why that was a blunder or what I should have played instead. Don't think I can protect one of those, like I said, by coming back, but that's it. I can't protect the other one, which is probably the one they're aiming for because it immediately gives them a passed pawn. Should I have just gone down 1 rather than checking? Or should I have come down to a1 to prevent them from taking that? I don't know. Let's turn on the engine and see what I should have played. Oh, it would have been much better for me to play knight to e6. Knight to e6 is here. That's what it says. It's plus 37 if I'd played knight to e6. And they would have taken it. And I would have taken back, I would have gotten a passed pawn. And if they didn't take it, I would have mate. I guess that's okay. Let me see. Yeah, if they don't take it, if they play any other move, I'll have checkmate right here. Because they can't move the king, so it's not like they could try to get out or something. And if they play an h-pawn, a g-pawn, or any of these pawns, or move their queen somewhere, I guess they could have put their queen here. Why isn't that listed? That wouldn't have been mate in 1, would it? Yes, it would, because I would have had mate in 1 down there. Oh, I was threatening mate in 1 2 different places. Okay, so if they took, I would have to take back. And now I have a mating sequence because they're not going to be able to stop this passed pawn. They still can't move their king because my queen's cutting off all those squares. And it says their best move would be h6. And then I would just push this pawn forward. So they would have to come over here to try to stop the passed pawn. But then I could check. And they can't come over here because my pawn and queen are guarding those squares. And of course my queen's guarding these squares. So their only legal move is king to h8. And then I would promote protected by my queen. They would have to take it and I would take back. Okay, I understand that sequence of events here. Wow. It says plus 37 here, but as you saw, after just a couple of moves, with the opponent making the best moves, I would have a mating sequence coming up very shortly. Okay, I understand that one. And according to the post-game analysis, my first blunder was right here, after my opponent had just blundered by taking that pawn. I had just done what I said I was going to do, where I checked down there. Actually, I was over here, checked, and won that pawn. But then they took that pawn like I thought, so that lets me take either one of these. And I did. I took the b7 pawn. Should I have taken the other one? Should I still have played knight to f6? Oh, I left the engine on. I mean e6, yeah. I should have still played knight to e6, and it's mate and 8. And c5 is my next best move, moving the c-pawn forward. I'm not sure why that would give them a passed pawn, but then I could take it, and then that gives me a passed pawn. Okay. But this blunder just set me back to plus 3, and it does allow them to take my c-pawn with the queen. And then my next mistake was on the turn after that, where I already saw it. I should have just played queen to b2. Which is a check, and then I would put my queen back here on f6 where it had been before. Wow. Because probably it still wants me to play knight to e6 at some point. Doesn't say that. But if I did that, if I checked, and then they got out of check, and I went over here to f6, wouldn't they just... No, they wouldn't take this pawn. And my next best move is queen to e7, and it says they would then check me on c8, which is down there, and I would just play g4. Those are my 2 best moves, but instead I went here. I thought... This looks good, but why is that bad? I'm still up 2+1, and it's definitely not their best move to take. They should check me down here, which would force me forward, and I would still have a slight lead. Oh, and that would allow them to take the f-pawn? Yes, but after they took the f-pawn, I would take their d-pawn, and I would be, guarding against their a-pawn, so I would still be ahead. But they just moved closer. And I was pretty sure it was my best move to take. It is. Okay, so I took and they took, and now my passed pawn's closer to promotion than theirs, plus I can catch theirs with my knight. All right, well, where's my next mistake or blunder? It was quite a bit later. Okay, right here I made a mistake. It's their turn. I had a mate in 12 if only I had played f5. Wait, I played my second best move, which is king to f7, and it counted that as a blunder even though it's mate in 13. All right, I think the game review was a little bit off here. That can't possibly be a blunder, because what it does is it cuts off these 3 squares from that king, and this square is cut off by this pawn. So they have to stay on the h-file. And after I get there, they're never going to be able to get in front of this pawn, and I come forward. This is just standard endgame stuff. That's not a blunder. Okay, so I did that. They went forward, which I don't know what they should have done instead, but now I can move my pawn, and I did. That's just a couple more moves. I had another blunder right here. This is another situation in which I played my second best move, which is mate in 9 versus mate in 10. So no, not a blunder. It says there's a difference here, and I should have gone to e6 instead of e7, but it doesn't matter because either way, my king's going to be guarding these and I'm going to promote. So I wouldn't count this as a blunder either. Okay, so that game wasn't as bad as I thought. Probably way over here, not there, right back here. I think this is probably the best one. Not only that I understand, but also the most significant one, because I had 7.5 minutes left. I should have been able to tell that if they took, I would take back and have a passed pawn that they can't stop. And if they didn't take, I would be threatening mate 2 different ways. I mean, that's pretty sneaky, and I didn't see it when the engine first suggested it, but I think I've got it now. All right, I'm going to go grab the next game. Okay, this game is one of those that I normally don't go through because my opponent didn't make any blunders or mistakes, and it's very rare that I learn anything from those. But here we were about even, and I played rook a to d1. My idea was to protect the knight after I moved the king, because it was my plan to move the king and try to, castle over here manually, and I wanted the knight to be protected when that happened. But after this move, I was behind most of the rest of the way, so let's see, what's in danger here if I play that? They can, I guess, put this knight here and threaten my bishop, but I can drop the bishop back, so it's not that. Oh, okay, I see it. My e-pawn's undefended. Okay, and it's under attack. So f5 probably, f4. Yeah, okay, I had to play f4. Or rook h to e1. Sorry, the computer kind of hung up there for a second. Hopefully it's not about to crash, but rook h to e1 would have also protected it, and both of those moves would have kept us at about even. But this move set us back a little ways because they can pick off that pawn. Okay, I understand that. I didn't fully check to make sure that everything on the board was defended. As I said, I did notice that these 2 pieces were not defended, and I thought about moving the rook over to protect the knight once the king moved, and the bishop could protect itself by dropping back. But I did not account for the e-pawn that is undefended. Okay, I understand that. This is another one in which my opponent played very well, 93% accuracy on my opponent's part. Only 1 blunder, and their blunder left them ahead, according to the graph here. But I had 1 blunder and 1 mistake, so right here, by the time of my first mistake, I was already down +2. Okay, that is the exact indicator of something that I won't learn from. If I've already gotten behind +2, my opponent already has a +2 advantage, and I haven't even made a mistake yet, yeah, I'm going to go into the next game. In this one, which I believe is the 4th one that we've looked at in this video, my opponent and I both made multiple mistakes and blunders. This is the point at which I lost the game via checkmate. I did play it out to the end. I just assumed my opponent needed checkmating practice since they went and, promoted another pawn to a queen with the queen already on the board, which they could have easily checkmated me with. And whenever anybody does that, I just assume they need the practice. So I let them have it. But there is a point here in the graph at which there is a couple of giant spikes here, which usually means I missed the same move twice in a row. I'm going to see if I can figure out what that was. Here my opponent is up +4, and I assume that's because they have multiple extra pawns. But they messed up by offering me the rook trade here, playing rook to b4. I'm not sure why that's a huge mistake. Well, what I did was just, get out of the way. I don't remember which one. Yeah, I went to c8 because I didn't want a rook trade. I figured if I took their rook, they would take. And yes, that would allow my king to come over, but I would not be able to catch this pawn here. And I could move my pawn forward, but then they would move their pawn forward, and I would check, and they would just take that pawn. Or is it saying that after the rook trade, I would just be able to march this pawn forward now because my king is still here? I don't know. Let's see. Where's the engine here? It does say that I should capture the rook. Oh, that is what it is. I wouldn't come after the pawns after we did the rook trade. I would go to king to d2, where my king cuts off all these squares, and I would promote first. Oh my goodness. I did not see that. I could have taken here. They would have taken, but then I would have had an only move. I would have had to find king to d2 to Oh, my computer has done that thing now. The cursor is definitely not moving when I want it to. Okay, there it goes. Wow. My king is cutting off all of these squares from their king, and nothing can stop this pawn from promoting. It says that they would play king to f3, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't, because my next move would be check. I'm pretty sure they would try to promote a pawn of their own, but then I would play e4, and they would play this. I assume. That's not what it said to play, but I'm assuming that's what my opponent would play. But then I would check, which means they can't move their pawn. Now they might play king to f3, and then I would push this again, and they might push this again, and then I would promote. And I have a mate in 20-something. But what if they promote? It says that they wouldn't, but what if they did? Let's just, what? Oh, I have a mate in 1 if they did that. Queen to e3 is a mate in 1. Because my pawn cuts off g4. Wow. Okay, so back here, and I'm going to guess that when I didn't take the rook, because I thought that they would be able to promote before me, I definitely didn't see this. I had time. I probably could have looked around. I don't know how much time I spent on this move. I spent 9 seconds on it, but maybe I could have taken, 60 seconds or something. But at the time, I just assumed they were winning, and I was kind of waiting on them to win. But in the future, that's what these analyses are for, is for my future. I'm trying to set patterns and ideas in my head that will help me in the future. And one thing that I can recognize here is that I do have a passed pawn. Now, my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4 passed pawns, but none of them are any closer than this one is. And I'm already cutting off 2 of the squares that their king needs to get in the way of my passed pawn. And I can cut off the 3rd one by just advancing my king to d2. And I should have also been able to recognize that one of these moves is going to be a check. If they come up here like the engine had said that they would, then this would be the check. And if they set there, then this would be the check. And either way, that's going to be one move that they can't move one of their pawns. And they probably wouldn't try the h pawn because it's further behind than... I assumed they would do the a pawn after the rook trade because it's closer, or the b pawn, which would also be there. Sorry, the c pawn would have moved to the b file. But yeah, this is just math. Very simple arithmetic here that I take. Okay, so what I did was move to c8, and what they did was move over to challenge me again, and I should have taken again for the exact same reason. I should have taken so that they would take with the b pawn this time, and again I would go to d2, only move because I'm cutting off those 3 squares. I understand. And I actually do have time to do a few more of these games, but my fan hasn't stopped running, and it's not just from Stockfish, because even after Stockfish was running, my computer is doing something heavy. I assume it's something else in the browser here. I don't have anything else open. I'm not sure what it is. I might have to diagnose my computer, but yeah, the mouse pointer, the cursor was hanging up quite a bit during that. Just trying to draw arrows or select squares or move pieces, it was hanging up. It's that weird feeling where you're moving the mouse, but the thing on the screen isn't moving, or it's not moving, where it's supposed to. It was clearly hanging up. So in order not to set my machine on fire, I'm going to stop now, but I think I did learn some things here. Specifically, this one I think is the most enlightening, but the other one, the knight to e6, which looks like it's giving up a knight, but was in fact winning the game. I think I understand that one too, so I feel good about this, even though I lost most of these games. Thank you for spending your time here. I'll see you next time.